Hello, this is David Sloan Wilson for Evolution, This View of Life, the magazine that approaches anything and everything from an evolutionary perspective. And I'm very pleased to interview Michael Bloom, who will be the section editor for the religion section of Evolution, This View of Life. We intend to have an editor for each section, and that editor will help us coordinate material and generate new material. And we'll have a blog. We'll be one of the featured bloggers. So welcome, Michael.
Hi, David. Hello.
And thank you so much for joining us on this great adventure of ours.
I'm looking forward to it.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you became interested in religion from an evolutionary perspective. And then we can go on from there and talk about this wonderful subject.
Yeah. I live in Germany, and it's from a religious perspective, it's a very interesting country. We have Western Germany, which is very religious in comparison to Eastern Germany, where we had a socialist regime that suppressed religion. And then, of course, we are having immigration. We are having big Muslim immigration, growing diversity. And so, as a young man, I came into contact with these topics, and I got fascinated, and I studied Religionswissenschaft, which is the scientific study of religion. And after finishing the studies, I decided to go a step further and to go into the biology part. And I did my doctorate thesis about religion and brain sciences. And ever since, I've become addicted to evolutionary theory because it's interesting to see what is in the brain, but it's far more interesting to see how it got there. And so that was my part. And together, for example, with a biologist, I wrote a German book, Gott, Gene und Gehirn, which is translated God, Genes and the Brain, about evolutionary studies of religion. And of course, your book played a role in that. And so that was my way of getting into this field of study. And I'm doing that for some years, and I love it every day a little bit more.
Right. And some of your work was in the news a while back for showing that religious folks are doing a bit better in the Darwinian contest of life than atheists. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I specialized on a specific topic, which is religious demography. We are seeing that religious people tend to have more children on average and to have more grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And in Germany, we have a big debate about raising the birth rate, and it doesn't work. And one day, someone said, "Well, but the Americans, they have many children without putting too much funds in there." And some other people said, "Well, that's because they are religious." And so that was my initiation into this field, and to say, how does it work? What's the matter? And actually, I worked on census data, I worked on different surveys, and then I did case studies. For example, the Amish, the old order Amish or Orthodox Jews. And so what we find is, and I agree, for some people it's even a little bit shocking, is that we're seeing that there are many religious traditions that manage to have extremely high fertility throughout the centuries. Orthodox Jews, Amish, Mormons, and many more. But there is no non-religious population which has been able to retain at least replacement level for a century. So if religion is, if people are losing their religion, birth rates are plummeting, and that's what I specialized about to explore the topic.
And this was true even at the beginning of Christianity. I know when I was writing Darwin's Cathedral and reading about early Christianity, the Roman Empire was shrinking and was not replacing itself demographically. And those early Christians,
exactly,
they were growing in part not just from conversions, but from good old-fashioned birth and survival, because surviving such things as the plagues and so on was something that the Christians did better than the Romans. So, and this actually plays into some of the great debates that are taking place among evolutionists about the nature of religion. As we know, but not all of our listeners, not everything that evolves is adaptive, and so religion Could be adaptive or not. It could be a byproduct. If it's adaptive, it could be adaptive for groups, for individuals, or it could be adaptive just for the memes, as Dawkins has postulated. So it's not as if all evolutionists agree with each other about the nature of religion, but we do have a way of studying it that I think is going to get to the truth of the matter about religion, and provide a framework, basically, which is, I think, is ultimately going to be the framework of choice for everyone who studies religion. So how exciting is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say religiosity is potentially adaptive. But of course, you have groups, for example, like the Shakers, who didn't have children at all, who decided not to have children, not to have marriage within their group. And then you have other groups, like, for example, the Amish, which are very high fertile. And then you're having a cultural selection, and the Amish, they are thriving. And so, yeah, there's a feedback going around with religiosity offering potentials of cooperation and of reproductive cooperation and cultural processes, cultural evolution taking place. And that's very exciting. For example, Christianity is a good example. Early Judaism is a good example. Think about the fear of the Pharaoh and the biblical record of Exodus. His fear is about the Israelites having many children in the Egyptian Empire. And if you go back far in the in history, then the first depictions we are having from religious art are about fertility, are about women giving birth, are about women being fertile and pregnant. And so I'd say that Sarah Blaffer Hurley, with her concept of cooperative breeding, was closer to the evolutionary picture than, for example, Darwin, who assumed that religion is adaptive in cooperative warfare. And I think it's about cooperation, and we can see that there is a reproductive effect on it.
Well, nevertheless, the Hutterites and the Amish and Orthodox Jews and so on are also noticeable for being very small groups in a sea of larger society, and entire societies become largely secular, such as most of Western Europe, and I imagine that includes Germany. So what do you think explains this trend of secularization? And even though birth rates go down, those societies still exist, and in fact, those are the dominant societies. So that's paradoxical. They might not be pumping out kids, but they're certainly culturally the strongest and most stable societies we have. So what are your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, actually, I began to believe that we are up to something as we analyzed the data of the Swiss census, where we have a great wealth of data, and we could see that, for example, in Switzerland, all religious denominations had more children on average, women in all religious denominations, than the non-religious. And even, for example, in Austria, we have data through subsequent decades, and we are seeing that the gap actually is widening between the secular and the religious. It's not just a small group like the Orthodox Jews. It's a devout Protestant, it's devout Catholics, and in the end, it is true that whenever there's existential security, like Inglehart and Norris showed in their Sacred and Secular, then people are beginning to abandon religious communities and religious mythologies. But one of the effects is that the birth rates are plummeting, and so that seems not to be the end of the story. And people keep telling me that, like, Europe is the pinnacle of evolution. I'm not so sure about that. We are a shrinking population. In Germany, since 1972, we had less birth than death in every single year. In the meantime, we are closing whole villages here. And so, I think evolutionary theory could be a way to explore these things and to think about them, and maybe to get a new form of dialogue between religious scholars and evolutionary scholars. And that's one of the things I hope for, that people begin to see everyday life in a new perspective, an evolutionary perspective.
Well, when I give talks on this nowadays, one of the titles I use is Religion and Other Meaning Systems. And I think that for me, the most important point to make is that not everyone is religious, but everyone has a meaning system, because we're such a cultural species that all of us require some kind of symbolic system to organize perception. And there's no exceptions to that rule. And so the proper study is cultural systems of all sorts, and some of them count as religious, and others of them count as secular. But well, this has been a great introduction, and I'm so happy for you to join forces with me in making evolution, this view of life, itself a cultural phenomenon. And so, and isn't it great that the section on religion is going to be informed by the same principles as the sections on politics, economics, culture, biology. That's what's so great about this view of life. So thanks for joining me, and I know that I'm going to look forward to your own blogs and the material that you help us generate for the religious section of Evolution, This View of Life.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it. Evolutionary greetings from Germany to everyone, and we'll see you again at This View of Life.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.